Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today we're going to be dissecting this CNN coverage about the coronavirus. And I want to show y'all a couple of things to look out for when we're watching these type of shows to separate the real from the fake. All right, let's watch it.
We want to continue our COVID coverage tonight by showing you what a COVID patient struggling to breathe looks like. This is what happens to people when every weapon in our arsenal is not used to its fullest potential, or even the most obvious one, the vaccine. We warn you, this may be disturbing to some, but it's necessary to see up close just what this nation is fighting, patient by patient. Randy Kay has the story.
You are watching the desperate attempt to save a COVID patient's life. This 75-year-old woman is having serious trouble breathing and is in desperate need of oxygen.
You see how we didn't see the 75-year-old woman? They told you we're seeing a 75-year-old woman. They're doing a voiceover inside of a hospital. They're giving us a scenario, but not giving us the proof.
So this patient was being maintained on non-invasive ventilation and unfortunately failed. And so we had to transition to mechanical ventilation, which requires placement of an airway within the endotrachea, within the trachea, the windpipe. So the patient has to be sedated to allow us to access the airway.
Dr. Hudman Ho is a pulmonologist and the medical director of the ICU at St. Anthony's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. As the patient's oxygen levels dropped, doctors quickly prepared to intubate her so they could get her on a ventilator to help her breathe. The process involves a slender surgical probe known as a stylet.
He has a stylet that goes in the tube to maintain some rigidity so he can guide where the tube goes. And he uses a laryngoscope blade to lift the tongue out of the way so he can visualize it. And it's actually a fiber optic visualization. There's a little camera at the end of the laryngoscope blade so he can visualize the airway and guide the tube into place.
It has to be precise, yet time is of the essence. Lives are on the line.
They got it. Intubating. She's coming back up. Wow, her heart rate stayed rock solid.
For this patient, a second chance. Later, we learned she had received her first dose of the vaccine, but got COVID while waiting for her second shot. Still, most patients here are unvaccinated. Across the Baycare hospital system, which includes St. Anthony's, hospitalizations have increased tenfold since the beginning of July, and about 85% of the ICU patients are unvaccinated.
Do they express regret that they're not vaccinated?
We have had patients that come and request, but can I get a vaccine now? But they don't understand that it's something that's meant to be preventative, and once you have the disease, it's not helpful. And once you have the disease, it's not helpful.
Dr. Warren Abel, a critical care physician in the ICU, calls the pandemic, quote, our World War II. Unvaccinated patients as young as 20 years old dying before his eyes.
Every person that passes away that was unvaccinated, it's a preventable death. It's very, it's heartbreaking, actually.
27 of the 28 ICU beds here are filled with COVID patients.
Good.
27 of the 28 ICU beds here are filled with COVID patients.
So 27 of the 28 ICU beds are filled with COVID patients. So all the other stuff that could have put you in the ICU disappeared in this particular hospital. Right? All the other madness that could have put you in the ICU room disappeared. It ain't nothing but COVID patients now. COVID destroyed all the other diseases. They're calling COVID a disease after it came out as a virus first. Do y'all see where I'm getting with this?
Good morning.
And far too many are on ventilators, like this woman.
Can you nod your head for me? There you are. All right, good.
Yeah, we still don't see her. We hear people talking, but we don't see the patient.
Almost always before they get intubated, they want to call their loved ones to tell them they love them and say goodbye. And unfortunately, oftentimes that's the last time they speak to them.
For people who say, you know, this is Florida, we're past it in Florida, we're good, what do you say to that?
This is one of the worst waves that I've experienced. I mean, I think things are as bad with COVID as they've ever been in Florida.
No, come spend a day with me. You'll see we're not okay. I walk down the hall and almost all of our patients are on their bellies to help them breathe.
All right, guys, let's continue to break down this hospital, this pretend hospital. So she said almost all of their patients are on their bellies to help them breathe. That big old hospital, almost everybody in there have COVID. All the other stuff, like I said, they could have got you in the ICU or wiped you out, anything. A bruise, anything. Those patients are no longer in the hospital. And with all of this COVID inside this hospital, the doctors, nobody that's treating these patients, they said this COVID thing is very contagious. These doctors aren't catching COVID. These nurses that's treating these patients aren't catching COVID. Suspicious? I don't know. To me it is. I don't know about you. Alright, that's all I got for today. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and again, comment.